Hello. For those of you I have not had the pleasure of meeting, I'm Joe Barwick, and I'm your interim president right now at AB Tech. And as a disclaimer, let me tell you, first of all, that my wife and I were the last ones in our peer group to add an answering machine to our telephone. And the only reason I ever learned to text was that was the only way I could talk to my children. So the fact that it took a pandemic for me to embrace this new technology is no surprise, but please bear with me. So we're now in our second week of teaching and learning with COVID-19. And I know that you have many questions about what now, what's coming, what about the summer. And all I can say is, as soon as we get answers to things, we are sending them to you. But we don't have the answers to all those questions right now. So please keep watching your email. Your ELT leaders are sending information out just as soon as we receive it. And also check the abtech.edu webpage. There's a number of resources there, not only for you, but be real helpful for you to understand what your students are looking at and what they're interested in. So all the information we give, we will send to you just as soon as we have it. But please recognize that we don't have all the answers now. The leadership team that is larger than just the ELT is meeting at 8:15 every morning virtually, and we are sharing information as it comes down the pipeline. So please stay up with your emails. We are in a new environment. But in terms of questions, since I came on board in February, a lot of people have been asking me a couple of questions, and the first question they ask is, I bet you didn't sign on for this, did you? And my answer, of course, is no, I did not sign on for this, and neither did you, and neither did our students. But what I did sign on for is a basic, simple contract that you all made with students some time ago. And that is, to the students, your dreams, our mission. Now, that basic principle behind that contract, and all my experience, I've never seen it so resoundingly embraced as I have here at AB Tech. So let me tell you a story. This story goes back to the early days of the community college movement in North Carolina in the 60s. AB Tech, of course, was already going as one of the first, already a leader in the community college movement. Several of the presidents decided to charter a plane so that they could take as many presidents as wanted to go and other people to this organization that at that time was called the American Association of Community and Junior Colleges. So here's this big Boeing airplane full of presidents and vice presidents and deans taking off out of Charlotte. One of the presidents turned to his seatmate and said, if this plane goes down, it's going to put a pretty big hole in community colleges in North Carolina. To which his seatmate responded, a seatmate who actually became one of my mentors, said, but you know, not one student will miss a single hour of instruction. And that's the community college way. It's that hour of instruction is why we exist. And that is your contract to the student. Unfortunately, in this time of pandemic, there will be students who will miss an hour or more of instruction. They will miss courses. Our student services folks, meaning your faculty, volunteers across campus, are calling these students, they're emailing, they're reaching out to them. I know that you have reached out to at least 2,000 now. You still have 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 more that you're going to be contacting, and you're hearing their stories. And their stories are, you've been sharing with me, and they're heartbreaking. It isn't just the technology, although in some cases it is, but it's the lack of childcare. It's the asthmatic grandmother that they're concerned about. It's the loss of income. It's all these things that are just overwhelming. But what you are doing to counteract that is just phenomenal. And I want you to know how much I appreciate it and what that says about AB Tech. But another thing that I've learned, since the 60s, is just what is involved in that single hour of instruction. Obviously, it takes a very creative and dedicated teacher, takes a committed and hopefully eager student, but it takes financial aid. It takes scholarships for that student to be able to afford to be there. It takes a whole array of advisors and counselors and tutors and people guiding the student on a trajectory to be there. It takes an enormous business operation to make sure that the faculty member is paid, the supplies are ordered and delivered. And it takes an HR department that provides the security of benefits and things like that to make it viable. And speaking of security, it takes a whole force of people to make this a safe environment. And yes, it takes people who are attending the lawns and fixing the equipment and maintaining the equipment so that this is a livable environment. All of this, it takes all of this to filter up to that 1 hour of instruction that all of us are committed to. And it is heartbreaking for us to know that we cannot be successful with every student. Second question that I'm often asked is, I bet you regret signing on for this, since I just came in February and it was probably less than a month or a little over a month before we found ourselves in a pandemic. And I regret that I have not yet been able to meet so many of you. I'm hoping this passes over so that I can start to walk around campus again and fist bump if we never get around to shaking hands again, but at least meet the rest of you. But do I have regrets about being the interim president here? Absolutely not. I have seen the most phenomenal transformation of instruction in a matter of days than anyone could ever have imagined. What you all have done to change the nature of your work, how you relate to each other, giving up the people part of being in a room, in a hall, and walking down and bumping into someone, you know who they are, the person that you see, and a smile and a wave and a hey, and you know your day just got brighter. And now we're having to do all that through this. I appreciate the people who are now doing these webinars and these group meetings just to kind of overcome this isolation that you're doing. But it has been incredible what all of you have done to keep this college open, to keep it student focused to the extent that that's possible. And I hope that at some point in the future, either a grandchild or some young person who is not yet born will say to you, what was it like to be at a college in the time of COVID-19? And I hope you will remember to say, a lot of people got sick and some people died, famous and ordinary. And that was a tragedy beyond measure. And I can't speak for other colleges, but I can say at AB Tech, we all did what needed to be done. And we were told we were amazing, and you are. And I thank you. See, I've had to turn this thing off.